In our last episode, Claudia and I sailed from Ban Bang down to the southern tip of Phuket to Nai Han. In this next episode, we're joined by a good friend of ours, Murray, as we sail around the spectacularly beautiful Phang Na Bay and we explore the hongs of the local area. We hope you enjoy this episode. We spent a couple of days there in Nai Han, anchored up, waiting for a good friend of ours, Murray, to arrive. We'd planned to sail around Phang Na Bay for a couple of weeks with Murray. So after a nice afternoon swim, relaxing evening, the next morning it was time to lift the dinghy and head up to our next anchorage. It's pretty easy to lift the dinghy on Spirit. We just put the lifting line through a friction ring and then it goes to the large winch. Then this lifts the dinghy. At the same time I'm lifting the dinghy with the winch, Claudia pulls the bow line to keep the dinghy straight. We always lift the dinghy as it's far more secure. If we have to move Spirit at night or if we're dragging or anything like that where we've got to move quickly, it allows us to do that. We don't have to worry about the dinghy being in the water and the painter getting wrapped around the propeller. It also stops anything growing on the bottom of the dinghy and it secures the dinghy so no one can steal it. Once the dinghy was up, we sailed out of the bay just with the headsail and we went round the corner to where we were going to provision, a little place called Geelong. Early the next morning, Murray was up, so he got this lovely bit of video of one of the local longtails going past. We anchored there, so it was really easy to get provisions. The supermarket's just opposite the beach here, so I shot in the dinghy with Claudia and Murray, dropped them ashore, and then they went and got some provisions. I returned a couple of hours later to pick them up. Claudia couldn't help herself and picked up some rubbish as she was leaving the beach. Pollution in Southeast Asia is a major problem and we try to clean every place that we go to, leaving it better than we found it. On the way up into Phang Na Bay, Murray and I just sailed the boat up together. The beauty of Spirit is that it's so easy to sail even single-handedly with a windward and leeward jib sheet winch within close reach, while you can put the tiller between your legs and steer the boat. It allows you to tack and jibe on your own. It was a really slow sail, but it was lovely as we sailed up past Kai Nok Island. It's definitely one of the things with this area of Phang Na Bay and Phuket and Krabi is it gets really busy. The nicest season to visit the area is between December and April, and of course this is a high season with lots of tourists there. This island here is called Koh Phanak. Once we got there I lifted the board a little bit because it's a bit shallow and closer to the island. Claudia prepared the anchor. We decided to come and spend a week around this area with Murray, as we hadn't really done Phang Na Bay. The tourists had put us off for the last couple of seasons we'd been here, and as we were about to head further south in Spirit, we figured this was our last chance to have a good look around the bay. It's a lovely spot, and a lot of these islands have hongs in the middle, which is just a central section of the island that's collapsed. And I'd recently bought this really nice little book from Amazon that was about all the hongs in Phang Na Bay, so we thought what better time than to get up there and have an adventure and explore them all. Murray was sleeping in the cockpit, so each morning he'd grab this great video of the sunrise. We've got some local fishermen there. They normally come in at night in their long tails and then leave early the next morning to set their nets. It wasn't long before I was up and Murray and I grabbed our camera gear and we figured what better time before the tourists arrived than to jump ashore and have a look inside the hong. This is quite a famous hong on the northeastern side of Koh Phanak. It's probably about 150 to 200 metres from the beach through to the middle of the island where the collapsed section is. You got to have a good torch with you. The bottom's all sandy. It's normally quite hard. Some of them are a bit different though, some are muddy, but this one's all sandy all the way through. You've got to really watch the oysters growing at the high tide mark and the rocks are actually really sharp, so definitely recommend having a bright torch with you, and if your feet aren't up to it, wear some good shoes, but we had no problem with our bare feet. You can see the water's really clear. You can see the little crab living there. Quite a sandy bottom, so it's pretty easy to get through. I really highly recommend people do this. If you're ever sailing in this area of Thailand, make sure that you spend the time to check out all the hongs. It's a pretty unique feature to this part of the world. And then once you exit the hong, you can see it opens up. A couple of mangroves growing inside, but overall not a lot, just beautiful shafts of light coming down through the centre of the island and really steep cliffs surrounding you. You got to watch out for the rocks, they're really sharp. You have to be careful as well when you're parking your tender near these shores, because if the tide lifts your dinghy up and pushes you inshore, sometimes these rocks are sticking out of the sand and it can be disastrous for an inflatable tender. While inside we tried to fly the drone. We didn't have much luck as the GPS couldn't get a position, and so the drone wasn't able to fly above a certain height. After having a good look around and spending some time in the nice quiet of the hong, we thought we'd better shoot back out before the tourist boats arrived. This is one of the most popular hongs, and it gets pretty busy from about 9:30 in the morning. So before the speedboats turned up, Murray and I headed out, and we were really lucky. This is when we came outside, a speedboat had just arrived. We jumped in the tender and headed back out the Spirit. It was a really slow trip across the top of Phang Na Bay. We were going to Koh Roi, where we were going to spend a few days just having a look at one of the hongs there, and then we were going to go further south down near Krabi to a place called Koh Hong. From Koh Hong we were going to sail back up north along the coast toward Koh Chong Lat. Then from Koh Chong Lat we were going to head back to Yacht Haven, where we were going to prepare Spirit for our next voyage down south to Langkawi.